हम अपने आसपास बहुत सारी चीज़ें देखते हैं जो हमें बहुत अफेक्ट करती
Yes.
हैं कि मान लीजिए हमने किसी पुअर पर्सन को देख लिया कि हमें लग तो हम उनकी लाइफ इमेजिन करने लग जाते हैं कि कैसे रहता होगा, हम अपनी चीज़ों से इतने परेशान हैं और सोचो उनकी लाइफ कैसी है। या फिर समथिंग बिगर लाइक जो पैलेस्टाइन में हो रहा था, राइट, या फिर जो मणिपुर में होता है। तो देयर आर लॉट्स ऑफ थिंग्स विच फील विच कैन मेक अस फील एग्जॉस्टेड, कि नहीं वो होता है जो इंसानियत से भरोसा उठने लगता है। तो जब ऐसे थॉट्स आए, जब ऐसी चीजें देखो अपने अराउंड तनाज, तो फिर हाउ डू वी कीप आवर फेथ इन ह्यूमैनिटी?
Because there is something called fatigue. People get tired of seeing the same thing. They get tired of talking about the same thing, which is why which is why I'm a little proud of like how strong the whole Palestine movement is still going on, because people are still talking about it, which is incredible. But I think what's important to realize that or know is that yes, it's important to like talk about it, share about it, but it's also important to take a step back when you need, to take a pause when you need. We should not always be like, okay, let other person do it and fine. Can and should be a little selfish also, where you are prioritizing yourself through everything.
हेलो सैसिनारी, वेलकम टू लिटिल फिक्सेस, जहाँ पे हम हर चीज को फिक्स करने की कोशिश नहीं कर रहे हैं, सिर्फ उन चीजों को विच आर getting on our nerves at the moment. It's real talk about mental health, messy emotions, and figuring out how to show up one tiny doable thing at a time. Because life's a lot, and so are we. Today we are talking about something the world needs more of: kindness. पर जो हम बात करने वाले हैं ये कोई प्रीची बातें नहीं है, ना ही कोई इंस्टाग्राम पिंटरेस्ट कोट वाले स्टाइल की बातें हैं। जो मेरी गेस्ट हैं, she actually builds kindness into her business. She creates products and services that quietly nudge people to be just a little softer, a little more thoughtful, a little more human. I'm speaking with Tenaz Cardoz. Inspired by the need for a kinder place, Tenaz started Kind Hearts Brigade as a space to empower people to be kind in easy ways. Through her experience in working as a marketing professional or even observing people, she was inspired to create easy to access tools to enable people to be kinder to themselves and to people around them. In this episode, we chat about what it really means to live kindly, the messy and magical ways kindness shows up in real life, and how small acts can ripple into something much bigger. So, whether you are having a good day or a really rough one, this conversation might just make you smile at a stranger today. Please help me bring more such conversations to you. Subscribe to Little Fixes on YouTube and follow the podcast on your podcast app. And yes, do share with someone you care about. Hi, Tanaz. Welcome to Little Fixes.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm very excited for this conversation because we are talking about kindness. काइंडनेस की बहुत कमी है हो गई है आजकल मतलब मुझे डे टू डे लाइफ में भी पता चलता है, कई बार मेरे साथ भी होता है कि मैं ही काइंड नहीं होती हूँ। और सिंपल चीज़ों में दिख जाता है कि आप दूसरे को कंसिडर ही नहीं कर रहे हो एज अ ह्यूमन, या दूसरे का व्यू पॉइंट ही नहीं देख रहे हो, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं। तो यू वर्क विद काइंडनेस, योर वर्क इज ऑल अबाउट काइंडनेस, मतलब इट्स अ ब्यूटिफुल ब्यूटिफुल मिशन। तो तनाज, टेल अस व्हाट इंस्पायर्ड यू टू स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन दिस?
So it's a very unconventional story. There was a show called How I Met Your Mother, and there was a very insignificant scene. And I call it insignificant because whenever I tell people the story, like, do you remember the scene? No one seems to remember the scene. But why it was significant for me, it's basically there's this girl that is very confused about what she wants to do in life. And
Which girl? I have watched the entire show. Tell me.
okay, so the mother of the show, the mother is very confused
Huh.
about what she wants to do in life,
Hmm.
and so she's basically sitting down, and once an old teacher of hers comes to her and says, "Okay, what do you want to do the most in this world?" And she says, "I want to eradicate poverty." And then he says, "Then ensure that every step you take from now is towards that goal." And then she goes on to be like an economics professor, and then that's how she meets Ted Mosby and like the whole thing. But I think that is something that really and I was also at a point in my life where I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do. And this was also peak pandemic. It was like June 2020 when you knew that this is like something that was here to stay. And I think a lot of people were also thinking about future steps for themselves. And I was like, okay, let me pretend like the professor is talking to me. And I said, what is something that I want to do the most in this world? And it was kindness. Like, I really wanted to see more of kindness. And of course, at that time, we were seeing some kind acts, but we were also seeing a lot of unkind acts happening. So I think that is what got me started. And initially, I started it with being a social media page where I was sharing stories of kindness to just inspire people. But I think I then went on to do more because I realized that stories are great, conversations are great, but and it is important. But beyond that, I feel like a good step to have it like really home into people is having physical products. So that's what I've been trying to do, like create physical products and also have like some like 30-day challenges or 15-day challenges where people can actively be kind and integrate that in their lives. So yes, that's how it got started.
दैट्स वंडरफुल तनाज। तो आ, ये जो आपका वेंचर है काइंड हार्ट्स ब्रिगेड, तो आपने बताया कि आप चैलेंजेस करते हो, प्रोडक्ट्स बनाते हो विच आर अराउंड काइंडनेस। सो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली आर दे एंड व्हाट आर यू लुकिंग टू अकम्प्लिश विद योर वेंचर?
That's a good question. So, basically, through see the challenges, like there are, so people have to dedicate 30 days towards being kind. Or if it's a 15-day self kindness challenges, then someone has to take 15 days towards specifically being kind to themselves. And a lot of people sign up for this because it's something that they can integrate into their lives, but also because they also realize a need for just having to be kind and looking for ways that they can be kind, because kindness is like an inherent value for them. So that's with the challenges. With the products, I've a couple of products that I have. Two of them are, like, to kind of summarize it, they're card games that they can play. There's one that you can play with people that you really love, and there's others that you can play with people that you're just friends with or colleagues, someone that you don't want to. The intimacy level is different. So with one card game you can be really intimate, you can be like put your heart out there and really share what you're feeling. And with the other one, you don't have to do so much of that. You can choose how much you want to share. And the idea behind both of it is to kind of create a space for kindness. A lot of people have played this with like their partner. A lot of people have played this, like I've played this at like birthday parties of my family. And what I've realized is that it sort of makes you pause and makes you think, like, okay, I'm going to intentionally answer this question. Like, one question is, what is something that you want to do for this person that they haven't had the chance to do in the past? And it really makes you, and of course, this is a question that you can only answer with someone that you know, at least closely. But it is something that really makes you pause and think about the person. So now you're making that person the hero, and you're also like really sitting to think and answer about this person. So it creates the space where you're intentional about the person you're with. You're intentional about the kind of things that you say. And of course, the person that's hearing these kind words also feels very happy. So the idea, the intention is to really just create this, create an environment where kindness is not like an out of reach sort of concept, but it's something that's very easy to do. It's very accessible. Kindness a lot of times doesn't feel accessible. So this is just a way where people can feel like, okay, kindness is something I can do easily. So yeah.
ओके। सो हम लोग काइंडनेस के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, तो आप ये बताओ तनाज कि काइंडनेस का आपके लिए क्या मतलब है, एंड हैज योर डेफिनेशन चेंज्ड ओवर द इयर्स?
I think I want to kind of blame my parents a little for this because they've raised my expectation of kindness a lot. Like, I've seen them do a lot of kind acts for people in their life. And I think over time, when, as you start spending less time with your parents and you're more sort of independent in your own world, I have kind of had very high expectations of the world, of like, for simple things like, okay, if I'm talking to someone, it's a easy kind thing to like talk back and smile back, and or like if you're rushing for the lift, for someone to hold the lift door open for you. I think very simple things where initially I used, and also maybe why I started this was like, it's very obvious for people to do kind things. It's like the obvious choice. And I think over time, I've kind of, and also through talking to people, I've kind of realized that, okay, maybe it, if someone's not holding the door open for me, maybe it's not out of malice, it's not intentional that they have kind of like, like purposely not holding the door. It's more of like they don't know. I think a lot of awareness isn't there about things that you could potentially do. A lot of times people are in their own little world where they think about what's important for them, and that is important. It's important to look after yourself, but it's also important to look beyond yourself and see the kind of people that are there around you. And I think that perception has changed for me, where I've realized that, okay, I need to be a little less demanding, a little more accepting, that okay, maybe it's okay that someone is not doing kind things, but it also then acts as a reminder for me to like realize that, okay, people need to be more aware of the people around them. They need to be more aware that kind acts are easy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that brings me to the kindest act that someone has done for you.
So to be honest, I feel like this is a question that will put anyone on the spot.
Hmm.
And I've asked this question to a lot of people also, and I've seen them get on the spot. So I think it was a good, I don't know if I want to say karma for someone to ask me this, because now I kind of realize, okay, what other people feel like. But because I've had some time to think about it, I feel like I go back to, it's not the kindest act someone has done for me in like my life, but maybe something that I remember is that I was very sick one day and I was traveling internationally. And I am someone that if I'm sick, I want to stay on the bed and let myself recover. But because I had to do the things of traveling, and like, of course, traveling internationally is not something that you can postpone or like, readjust later. It's something that you have to do. So I was very sick. I was coughing a lot, and I remember I was at the food court section of the airport, and I went up to, and people were just having, the airport was cold, and people were selling cold water, which was very, it felt very wrong. That was not something that I needed. um, yeah, so I went up to like like a South Indian restaurant. I was like, "Can I have hot water?" And they said, "I can't. We can't give you hot water." And went to a couple of places, and then finally there was this bar, and I feel like that's the last place you can expect hot water, because like there's a lot of cold beer, cold drinks, and all of those things. So we kind of went up to them and I said, we have a very opposite question of what everyone have been ordering from you today, but can I have some warm water? And he said, okay. So I think they have a coffee machine that has hot water. So he was able to give me like a whole like beer mug of warm water, where me and my partner, we were both sick. So both of us were kind of drinking it. And what feels kind about this act was that there was no hesitation. There was like, okay, you need hot water, and even though this is not a place that traditionally offers hot water, I'm going to give it to you in the best vessel that I can. And yeah, so I think at the end of it, we had our hot water maybe 15-20 minutes in, and then because I have something called kind cards, which is something that you can give to someone for being kind, and it's something that I carry with me all around. I gave this person a kind card and I said, this is just for giving me warm water. And he was taken aback, but also a little confused. He's like, but I don't need this card, all I need is your blessings. And I was like, okay, you can have my blessings, but also have this card as just a reminder to keep being kind. So I think maybe one of the reasons why I remember the story is also maybe because I gave the kind card. But yeah, I think it's like simple kind acts like this where someone didn't really go out of their way, but still ensured that I was in a good space. I think that's kind for me.
यस 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 दैट्स सो ब्यूटीफुल। तनाज आपको लगता है कि जो पर्टिकुलर पर्सन था वहाँ पे बार पे उस वक्त,
Hmm.
अगर उसकी जगह कोई और होता तो शायद वो इतना काइंड नहीं होता? क्योंकि हमने अपनी लाइफ में भी यही देखा है कि काइंडनेस इज सम मैनी टाइम्स अ पर्सनल ट्रेट, नॉट एवरी वन इज काइंड। व्हाट डज
Hmm.
दैट मीन टू यू कि पर्सनल ट्रेट है तो क्या हर कोई काइंड बन सकता है या नहीं बन सकता है?
नहीं, completely agree. Like, अगर कोई और होता, then I mean, okay, it could have been someone kind, but it also could have not been someone kind. Like, for example, the other restaurant didn't offer me, or like, it could have been in any situation. And definitely, it is. I mean, it's not a. I think it's. I wouldn't say it's a personality trait more than a value and a skill, because a value is something that's very inherent to you, and maybe it's just realizing and also acting upon it. So for example, your value could be kindness, or your value could be generosity. It's also then being tapping into that. If your value is generosity, then opening up, giving more. It doesn't have to be money, it can be time, it can be patience, it can be so many things. So basically, having that value and really just allowing yourself to live up to that value. Next is skill. I call it a skill because essentially I feel like it's possible for everyone to be kind. Not easy, it's possible for everyone to be kind. A lot of times what happens with people is that a lot of us get into the space of, like, say, fight or flight, and in times where a situation feels like someone's attacking you, it's very easy for you to feel fight. Like, if someone is saying not holding the door open for you, like I had mentioned before, it's very easy to feel attacked, like "Arey, mere saath kyun kiya," and things like that. But um but I think it's also, you can kind of learn over time that if you are in, say, a situation, I think it might not automatically come to you to hold the door open for someone. But if I tell you that, okay, the next time you see someone running, or if you see someone remotely coming towards a lift, it takes you 1 second to hold the door open. So just do it, unless like you're really getting late to go for something, it's an emergency, then you understand. But like, I think a lot of kind things are also things that need to be taught. They need to be taught more. And stories and conversations, like even conversations like these, really help people realize that, there are certain areas where you could be kind. I didn't know that I could be kind before, but now that I know about it, now that I'm aware, I can be kind.
हाउ डू वी बिकम मोर काइंड? मान लो मेरी वैल्यू ही नहीं है, मुझे मेरे पेरेंट्स ने नहीं सिखाया, स्कूल में भी मैंने कभी ध्यान नहीं दिया, वो मॉरल साइंस की बुक पे भी ध्यान नहीं दिया, तो मैं काइंड नहीं हूँ। तो हाउ डू आई लर्न टू बी काइंड? बिकॉज स्केप्टिसिज्म होता है। कई
Hmm.
बार ऐसा भी होता है ना कि मैं काइंड नहीं हूँ क्योंकि शायद मेरे साथ कोई इतना काइंड नहीं था, तो मुझे लगता है मैं क्यों बनूँ काइंड, मैं क्यों दिखाऊं भाई, आई विल पुट माई सेल्फ फर्स्ट, which is a good thing also, but extreme level pe jaake it is not a good thing. So
Correct.
please tell us about that.
Okay, so my answer is going to be a little long. Also, because someone yesterday messaged me saying that, is kindness really a good thing? I've tried it before and I've been walked all over. And I feel like kindness and naivety seems to be very, they there's the assumption that it's the same thing, but it's not. And I don't have all the information because I'm still learning. But there are two things. There's something called tender self compassion and tender kindness, and there's also fierce kindness and fierce self compassion. And it basically means that when you are, let's, for example, when you are down or when a friend is down, you choose to be tender, you choose to like give that person kindness, give the person empathy, give the person what they need to grow and to feel better, and kind of offer them kindness in that way. But if there's a moment where you do feel someone is being wrong to you, in I mean, maybe an easy example would be someone's taking credit for what you're doing, and the naive walkover kind of person would be like, okay, if I'm kind, I cannot defend myself. But I think that having that perspective, you're also robbing yourself of the opportunity. One is you're not being true to yourself, and second is you're also allowing that person to get away with something bad. And if you allow that person to get away with someone bad, how are they going to learn that it's not a good thing? Like personally for me, because I was an only child and I was very used to getting things my way, it really took someone to tell me, like, no, you can't get things your way. You have to sit and think about other people. You have to, I think a reality check is what I needed to kind of shift and be like, okay, I need someone to really, I need to think about people in a kind of way. This, suppose if I want to be a leader, I also have to think about other people in my team. It's not just about what I think it's right, but it's also about how we can do things properly together. So, similarly, I think that a lot of times people could use the reality check, and it's not necessarily like a bad thing where you feel like, okay, if you're um, it's not necessarily like a bad thing when you're correcting someone, because at the end of the day, it is you, one, putting yourself first. It is you kind of fixing this wrongness that is happening for you. And second is you're also helping the other person realize that what they're doing is not okay. And maybe if not now, maybe if a couple of more people correct them along the way, they will realize that this is something that is not okay. I should change. I should be better. So I think, to answer your question, if someone is not kind inherently, I feel like the world will fix it for them, and I feel like they will get opportunities along the way that will kind of like put them in line.
ओके तो बिकॉज यू टॉक सो मच अबाउट काइंडनेस, तो ऐसा कभी हुआ है कि लोगों ने कहा हो कि भाई आपका ये वर्क है, दैट्स व्हाई यू प्रमोट काइंडनेस सो मच, तो
Hmm.
जब ऐसा कोई रेजिस्ट करे तो फिर हम कैसे उसको कन्विंस कर सकते हैं कि नहीं, काइंडनेस इसेंशियल है?
Hmm. I think that's a good question. And I feel like initially, I used to brush it off and be like, okay, not my target audience, because like they're not someone that would subscribe to it. So like, why should I do the effort? But I feel like I'm a strong believer in time, and I feel like time is something that will, a lot of things happen at its own time, and maybe it's not my job to like change that person's mindset and be like, you have to be um you have to be a kind person, because I think it's something that needs time. I'm going to divert a little bit, because I remember when The Secret came out, the book The Secret, I was very skeptical about it. I was like, what is this manifestation? Like, a lot of, if people had to just wish for things to come true, then why would there be so much poverty in Africa? And something like that. And I feel like um and that was me, maybe let's say let's say 15 years ago. And then 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I kind of came across law of attraction again, and I came across manifestation again, and I came across a lot of things very organically over time. And I feel like my perspective of manifestation has changed a lot. And it the simple answer is time. It was just time that kind of brought these things to my attention. And I think similar with kindness, it's maybe right now you're in a zone where everything feels like it's working against you. One thing that could change it is just kind of dropping the skepticism and being more aware. Like, for example, like a lot of, like, I'm going to take a very Mumbai example of people complaining about their house help, like, they don't come on time, they're always going to the gao and things like that. I feel like, I mean, of course, there you can be very skeptical about people, but it's also about choosing the right people. Like, my house help is very nice. Like, she treats my house like her house. And, I think it's about people, it's about time, it's about mindset, it's about so many different things. And I'm also a big believer in, like, in making sure my environment is a kind one. So if on a personal level, if like certain, like, family members, if certain friends, I feel are not kind people, and matlab, they're just negative people, and matlab, they don't want to believe in the possibility, then I do like phase them out, or like, they're not really parts of my life anymore. I feel like that's a choice that sometimes you have to make, in terms of, if you want a kind environment, sometimes the choice is like either telling someone that, okay, no, you need to be kind, or like phasing them out of their life.
Mhm.
I think, I don't know if that sounds like a very kind answer, but I feel like that's an honest answer, and it's an answer that works.
Uh-huh. Okay, see what I have seen in my experience as a mother.
Mhm.
My daughter is a very considerate person. Obviously, she is an only child, तो उसका अपना एक अलग परसेप्शन है दुनिया का, और वो दूसरे बच्चों को अलग तरीके से देखती है, वो भी है। तो अभी क्या होता है, जैसे जब वो खेलने जाती है, तो देयर इज़ वन किड हु लाइक्स टू पुश हर, या पुश करना या फिर कुछ बोल देना। तो शी यूज्ड टू कम टू मी, माय डॉटर, कि मम्मी वो ऐसा बोल रही है, तो बिकॉज़ आई नो दैट गर्ल आल्सो, तो मैं ज़्यादा कुछ बोलती भी नहीं थी, बस मैं समझा देती थी कि तुम्हें ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए, उसको अच्छा नहीं लगता है, और मतलब हर्ट नहीं करना चाहिए लोगों को। लेकिन उसका बिहेवियर नहीं रुक रहा था। ओके, देन व्हाट हैपेंड कि मेरी डॉटर और उस बच्ची की लड़ाई हो गई, एंड दे स्टॉप टॉकिंग टू ईच अदर। मतलब मे बी 1 हफ्ते तक बात नहीं करी। सो व्हाट डिड दैट गर्ल डू, अब वो उसकी मेरी डॉटर के आस-पास घूम रही है, उसको पुश कर रही है, बैड वर्ड्स अभी भी बोल रही है, इवन दो शी इज़ नॉट इन्वॉल्व्ड। तो अगेन माय डॉटर केम टू मी कि मम्मी वो अभी भी कर रही है, नाउ वी आर नॉट इवन टॉकिंग। तो मुझे लगा कि थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो गया। एज़ अ मदर ऑल्सो आई टोल्ड हर कि अगर कोई तुम्हें पुश कर रहा है, तो पुश करना तुम्हें भी आता है। ओके, नाउ शी वेंट, और आई फॉरगॉट टू टेल हर कि अभी पुश मत करना, अगर वो फिर से पुश करे तो पुश करना। ओके, तो नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड, बट शी वाज़ सो हैप्पी, शी जस्ट रैन अवे, शी वेंट एंड पुश्ड दैट गर्ल। अब शी वाज़ शॉक्ड द अदर गर्ल, बिकॉज़ उसने कभी ऐसा किया ही नहीं था, मेरी डॉटर ने रिटेलिएट ही नहीं किया था। तो शी पुश्ड अगेन, फिर थोड़ी-सी फाइट हुई, आई वाज़ वाचिंग देम दूर से कि क्या हो रहा है। एंड देन द अदर गर्ल स्टार्टेड क्राइंग, लाइक क्राइंग रिवर्स, और आंटी उसने मुझे मार दिया। और तो मैंने कहा कि बेटा आपने पहले उसको हिट किया था ना, कई बार हिट किया था। नहीं आंटी मैंने नहीं किया था। अब ठीक है चलो, वो शी इज़ अ किड, शी विल प्रोटेक्ट हरसेल्फ, आई वाज़ ओके। फिर मैंने बस उससे इतना कहा कि बेटा दूसरे के साथ वही बिहेव करो जो तुम्हें अपने आप से चाहिए, जो तुम्हें अपने लिए चाहिए। तो शी वाज़ लाइक कि इन ये मेरी बात नहीं सुनने वाली, शी लेफ्ट। बट मुझे लगता है कि एक ये चीज़ है, जो हम सिर्फ़ बच्चों को ही नहीं, बड़ों को भी बता सकते हैं, और हम लोग बचपन से सुनते आ रहे हैं ना कि वैसे ही व्यवहार करो दूसरों के साथ जो आपको अपने साथ पसंद है। तो उसमें काइंडनेस आ जाता है। अगर आपको अपने लिए काइंडनेस चाहिए, अगर आपको अपने लिए कंसिडरेशन चाहिए, चाहे वो उसी पर्सन से हो या फिर किसी से भी हो, क्योंकि हम वही वाइब्रेशन सेंड कर रहे हैं सब जगह। तो अगर हम अपने आप से काइंड हैं, दूसरों से काइंड हैं, तो फिर काइंडनेस विल कम बैक टू अस। लेकिन अगर हम हमेशा मीनी रहने वाले हैं, तो फिर आई थिंक वो कहीं न कहीं आपको अफ़ेक्ट करेगा, हर्ट करेगा।
No, I agree, and I feel like, I think, yeah, I mean, maybe, I mean, of
हाँ।
course, maybe if your daughter didn't have to push her, but in case, maybe another option she could have also chosen was just standing her ground and saying like, why? I feel like when you ask the question like, why are you doing this, it kind of makes people like stop and be like,
या
yeah, why am I doing this? And a lot of people, if they try to justify it, they most often don't have a correct response to it, because kindness is not, I mean,
हाँ।
unkindness is not a justified thing. So it's not something that can be justified. I think similar to how the girl kind of just denied pushing, because it was not a justified thing to push her. So she denied it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that is also a good idea because I have always told her कि अगर कोई करे तो बोल दो कि I do not like it, do not do it again.
Hmm.
But I like this approach also. कि you are saying कि why are you doing this? Or if there that other person is in a position to understand, is in a position to think, so I think something more can come out of the situation.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good approach. Thanks for sharing that. ओके और तनाज एक आप हमें ये बताइए कि बिकॉज यू हैव बीन वर्किंग इन दिस फील्ड फॉर सो लॉन्ग ऐसी कोई अनएक्सपेक्टेड चीज जो आपके सामने आई हो एंड इट चेंज योर परसेप्शन अबाउट काइंडनेस अबाउट पीपल.
I don't think unexpected, but or maybe rather initially when I was asking people, I feel like I've realized that a lot of people have very different perceptions of whether they're kind or not. And I think for some people, they're very like, yeah, of course, everyone's kind in their own way. Versus other people are also like, no, I don't think I'm a kind person. And similarly, like when I would ask someone that what is a kind act that you've done, or what is something kind that has happened to you, I think I'd say like at least half of the response that I would get is that they didn't have an answer for me. And I feel like I'm sure kind things have happened to them and I'm sure they've been kind. They're just not aware of it. So I think that yeah, I think that's just something that I've noticed where people are just like not really sure, not really aware.
तो फिर ऐसी कोई चीज है जो हम लोग वर्ल्ड के डे टू डे सिटीजन्स हैं वो ऐसी कोई चीज जो हम रोज अपनी लाइफ में कर सकें जिससे कि काइंडनेस बढ़े टू स्प्रेड काइंडनेस.
I feel like the most important thing is to realize there is a world beyond you. And I think that's just the simplest thing. So, for example, if I'm at my house, I'm very aware that I have a partner in the house, or I'm very aware that I have house help. So, when my house help comes home, maybe a simple thing to do is like ask her about her day, talk to her, or like I don't even ask her, I have to ask her, like, how are you, or something like that. Maybe a simple smile, simple hi, or how's your travel, or a very simple interaction is a very good way of just being kind because it kind of builds that rapport with people. And I think that's like the first step towards kindness is build like understanding there is a world around you and building a rapport with each of them. And I think once you build that rapport, once you're more comfortable with the people around you, it's very easy to be kind. Like you can smile at someone and that can also be an act of kindness. You can talk to them, that can also be an act of kindness. If you feel like you need personal space, then I think it's also an act of kindness to express that and say like, hey, I need some alone time, I need some me time. I think that's also an act of kindness. Did
Mm-hmm.
I answer
Okay,
that?
so little things that make big differences. Yeah, just like Little Fixes podcast.
Yes.
ओके. तो तनाज़ ऐसी कोई मिथ है लोगों के मन में काइंडनेस को लेके जो आप बस्ट करना चाहोगे?
Yes, I think the biggest myth that is there, and it's a myth or rather a notion that we see with our work as well, is that um, kindness is the amount of kindness you spread is proportionate to the kind of amount of money you give. And a lot of times, kindness is associated with like just giving money like donations. And even if you see a lot of pages on Instagram, you'll see a lot of them is like I want to do an act of kindness for you, here's money, here's $1,000. And I think that a lot of people told me this also, like, why don't you do videos like this? And I'm like, that's, I mean, it's important. Donation is important, but it is not the only thing. It is not the biggest thing. It's like a fraction of what you can do. There are so many other ways to be kind. I feel like a lot of people just choose for some like have this notion of, you have to, if you give money, you're a kind person. And the only way I can be a kind person is if I've done something like sponsored 10 children in Africa, or like contributed like half of my life earnings towards cancer research. Like it doesn't have to be that big. I think even with us, when people asked us like, okay, you're doing this kind of thing, are you giving any amount to charity? And the answer is no, we're not, because kindness does not just mean giving to charity. By purchasing this, you're not purchasing this because some amount would go to charity. You're purchasing this for you. You're doing this to be kind towards yourself. You're doing this to be a kinder person and kind of make your life a little better for yourself and the people around you. So yeah, so that's a myth that I'm very passionate about busting. That it's not about how much money you give away, and it's not about
Yes,
marginalized
it's not
communities.
just about money.
It's about you.
Okay, thanks for busting that myth for me. Also because मेरा भी फर्स्ट थॉट यही आता है कई बार कि बहुत दिनों से किसी के लिए कुछ अच्छा नहीं किया है लेट्स गो टू केटो एंड डोनेट सम मनी आई डू दैट बट इट्स नॉट अ बैड थिंग बट yes you have to think beyond money.
I think another
Okay,
way, I
and
mean, not that we're promoting brands, but like another way, instead of doing if you feel like that, instead of going to keto, why don't you go to, what's the brand called? I think it's called Rangde, which is basically a similar platform where you can empower businesses by giving them small loans. So there are like farmers in Assam, or like they have like cane farms or chocolate farms and think cocoa farms and like tea plantations. You can give them the same amount,
Mhm.
thousand. Like of course you get the money back because it's like a loan that you're giving them, but in that process you're also empowering someone's
Ah.
dream, you're empowering someone's business. I think it's like a very
Mhm.
simple. I mean, I'm an investor with that platform. I've invested in a couple of things that way, and I feel like if I'm in a mood of like, like do like the way that you said, बहुत दिनों से अच्छा नहीं किया, I go to that website because I feel like that. I mean, of course, websites like Keto are important, and like sometimes they do need the money, but I feel like this is also a good way where you are empowering a business, and you're empowering not just maybe that one business, but you're empowering that woman to like kind of manage financially her family as well, the village as well. And I think that has a good kind of ripple
And
effect.
what's the name of the platform, Tanaz?
Yeah, so it's called Rangde. It's a P2P platform for social investments.
Okay, RANGDE, rangde.com. Okay, okay, because whoever is listening to us, they can go to that platform right now and just check it out and explore कि क्या offer करते हैं. So thank you for sharing that as well, Tanaz. तो
Mhm.
कई बार ऐसा भी होता है जैसे हम अपने आसपास बहुत सारी चीज़ें देखते हैं जो हमें बहुत अफेक्ट करती हैं कि मान लीजिए हमने किसी पुअर पर्सन को देख लिया कि हमें लग तो हम उनकी लाइफ इमेजिन करने लग जाते हैं कि कैसे रहता होगा हम अपनी इस चीज़ों से इतने परेशान हैं और सोचो उनकी लाइफ कैसी है या फिर समथिंग बिगर लाइक जो पैलेस्टाइन में हो रहा था राइट या फिर जो मणिपुर में होता है तो देर आर लॉट्स ऑफ थिंग्स
Yeah.
विच फील विच कैन मेक अस फील एग्जॉस्टेड कि नहीं वो होता है जो इंसानियत से भरोसा उठने लगता है तो जब ऐसे थॉट्स आए जब ऐसी चीजें देखो अपने अराउंड तनाज तो फिर हाउ डू वी कीप आवर फेथ इन ह्यूमैनिटी.
That's a very good question. And I feel like and this is something that I also struggled with, and I'm gonna quote my therapist a bit on this. But basically, it's good that you care about, say, things that are happening in the world, and it's very important to care, because the more you care, the more it is still something that is up there. I feel like some of the things, like a lot of people, like for example, a lot of things were happening in Sudan, and initially there was a lot of uproar, but now you don't hear about it too much. And when you don't hear about things enough, it continues to let the bad people, it continues to, like, once the bad people know, okay, they stop talking about it, let us continue this, because there is something called fatigue. People get tired of seeing the same thing, they get tired of talking about the same thing, which is why I'm a little proud of like how strong the whole Palestine movement is still going on, because people are still talking about it, which is incredible. But I think what's important to realize that or know is that yes, it's important to um, like talk about it, share about it, but it's also important to take a step back when you need, to take a pause when you need, because you're not the only person that's talking about it. There are other people in the world. You can kind of take a step back, take a breath, while other people are doing the work for you. And it doesn't minimize the impact that you're making. The impact is still there, but you can't, like, there's a very popular thing, you can't pour from an empty cup. So, so it's really important to step back, recharge, and when you can go out there, do. And of course, it is exhausting, but also remember that maybe if you do want to take a step back, and if you do want to, like, maybe it affects you. Like, I know a lot of people don't want to speak up, don't want to share the post because it's something that troubles them internally. It doesn't make them bad people. It is also them choosing to
Mhm.
protect their own personal peace, which is still as important. And they know that there are people out there that are also fighting the good fight. So I feel like that way, I mean, of course, it's not like we should not always be like, okay, let other person do it and fine. But it's also kind of prioritizing, and kindness can and should be a little selfish also, where you are prioritizing yourself through everything. Like, you are prioritizing yourself. If you are not okay, then of course the people around you start to sense that, and either they also become a little bothered by you, or they kind of go into like a fix you sort of mode. And I feel like you can take, like, it's okay to take a step back. If you're not feeling okay, you can completely step out if something that you're not okay with, especially in global issues like this. I think when something's a little more personal, so for example, if um, for I'm going to very loosely quote an example, like, so if someone is has been, like, assaulted, and maybe you are the only person that can kind of stand up for them, then you will have to be courageous, you'll have to be brave, you'll have to kind of take that step and be like, okay, I need to show up for this person. In moments like that, you can of course try to build a community, try to build people that can support you, back you, kind of take care of you, kind of tell you that it's okay, pat your back, do those kind of little care moments that allow you to recharge. So I think it's a spectrum that way. Like, if it's a more global issue, you're allowed to step back more. But if it's something very close to home, or like very within your circle, then it is important to step up, but also recharge and practice self care and stuff.
यस यस वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आई थिंक, क्योंकि जब सब कुछ देखते रहो तो अजीब सा, मतलब मुझे तो लगने लगता है कई बार, आई गो इन टू ओवर थिंकिंग कि ये हो क्या रहा है, लाइक हाउ हाउ विल द वर्ल्ड सर्वाइव, फिर वो मदरहुड आ जाता है, मतलब ऐसे खतरनाक एग्जिस्टेंशियल थॉट्स आने लगते हैं कि मेरी छोटी सी बच्ची है, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ वर्ल्ड शी इज गोइंग टू लिव इन, तो लगता है क्या है, व्हाई आर इन पीपल काइंड, व्हाई आर लाइक व्हाई इज इट ऑल हैपनिंग। तो आई कंप्लीटली एग्री विद यू कि थोड़ा सा उसमें स्टेप बैक करना भी इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाता है कई बार। और अगर
Mhm.
ओवर थिंकिंग की बात करूँ तो काइंडनेस के बारे में जब हम सोचते हैं तो कई बार हम ओवर थिंकिंग में चले जाते हैं कि कितना करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए। तो हाउ डू वी मेक काइंडनेस फील नेचुरल, जिस ऐसी चीज जिसके लिए हमें ज्यादा एफर्ट नहीं लगाना पड़ रहा है और हम बस कर रहे हैं, लाइक इट इज अ ट्रेट इन अस।
Hmm. I think a very simple thing is just like, I feel is very simple is, like I mentioned before, like, know that there is a world around you, and like, it's not just like your friend. Suppose you're at a party and you've just gone with like one friend, but know that it's not just your friend that's your world. It's all of the other people in the room that is also part of your world. So remember to smile at them, say hi, talk to things. I think a very simple way, if you feel like, I'm going to take again the lift example, is if you can see someone that's approaching the lift, maybe know that, okay, this person is in my life, this person also needs the lift, so let me just take that. It might bother me a little bit, I might be like 5 seconds late to what I need to do, but at least let them come, because they're not going to get the next lift. So I think, um, I would account that to taking a step back, maybe putting yourself in other people's shoes, being more aware of, like, okay, there's another person, And if it's very difficult to someone, I think the easy thing to do is to kind of just take a step back maybe and be like, okay, what is the simplest thing I can do to be kind? If it's smile at my neighbor, then great. If it's asking them how their day is, then that's great. If it's calling them over for lunch, then that's great. I think of the smallest thing you can do, and then think of how brave you can go on every step. Because for some people that maybe are introverts or are shy, maybe having someone for lunch is a very big step. You don't have to go that far. Do as much as you're comfortable, and start with a very basic uh, step.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. That was so thoughtfully explained, तनाज. और लास्ट में तनाज हमें ये बताओ आप कि काइंडनेस और ग्रैटिट्यूड इनका कोई कनेक्शन है क्या, और है तो क्या है?
I would say yes, because my kind cards do say thank you for being kind to me. So I think that yes, there is a
Hmm.
interlinking that way where I feel like gratitude is a good way to reinforce kindness. So, for example, if someone has done a kind act for me, a good way for me, a good way rather to have that idea maintained is to thank them for being kind. And either you can just say thank you or you can give them the card, but reinforce that in a way where they continue to do kind acts for like for the rest of their lives, maybe, or just like a further in the day. I think gratitude is a great way to reinforce. That's one thing with the other person. But also, I know that with gratitude it's also being aware, being mindful of what's happening. So maybe you don't have to tell the other person, um, thank you for holding the lift door open, but maybe just being aware that it was a really nice thing for that person to do, to hold the door open for me. I'm grateful for that. I think that is a different gratitude that also helps and also reinforces kindness.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, Tanaz, it was really lovely chatting with you. And I think काइंडनेस की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. जितनी भी काइंडनेस हो, आई थिंक कम है इस वर्ल्ड में. तो आई होप दिस कॉन्वर्सेशन gives people something to think about, something to take away, and maybe be kinder in their day-to-day lives, maybe spread this message around. So before I
Mhm.
let you go, Tanaz, tell us, how can people find out more about your work?
All right, so we have a website and we're active on Instagram mainly. We are on other platforms, but primarily on Instagram. You can just search Kind Hearts Brigade. That's the account on Instagram. That's also the website. So it's kindheartsbrigade.com. And just remember that hearts is plural. So it's kindheartsbrigade.com. You can visit our website. We have a lot of information. We have our products, our programs, that you can sign up for if you want to try out the 30-day kindness challenge. You can see when we're having the next one and you can sign up for that. And you can also explore the website. And we also have a couple of digital downloads that sometimes we occasionally have some for free, so you can download it whenever you want. And we also have a newsletter where we also share some stories and small anecdotes of kindness. You can also subscribe. All of that information is also on the website. So, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tanaz, and thank you so much for giving your time to Little Fixes and spreading kindness a little.
Thank you for having me.